Hello students, I'm Aanchal Sharma, your educator. In this video, we are going to discuss the syllabus and of course, how we will be studying the first paper of your UGC NET. This is a video on course introduction. So first of all, let us talk about what is UGC NET. I'm pretty sure we all are clear that what is UGC NET. UGC NET is an eligibility test and it will determine your position as a lecturer in any college, any university. Right, so this is an eligibility test and you are required to give it for the post of lecturership, assistant professor or any lecturer. It is conducted by the National Test Agency NTA and it is conducted twice in a year. These are few things that you should be clear about UGC NET. Then there are two papers that are there in UGC NET. Paper 1 is the general paper. Paper 2 is pertaining to the specific course or the specific subject that you have taken, right? That is the core paper that you have undertaken. So in this video, we'll be discussing the syllabus and how we will be studying the general paper on teaching and research aptitude. That is paper 1. Right. Before that, let me give you this information that we in Drishti are starting with our own new batch, and this batch for paper 1 and paper 2. For paper 2, we are starting with English literature and political science, and for paper 1, we are starting the batch on 10th of July, as well as we're starting the courses for your paper 2. English literature and political science also on 10th of July, right? So you need to remember 10th July is the date when we are starting with the new batches for UGC NET paper 1 and paper 2. And in your paper 2, we have two subjects. We have English literature and we have political science. If you have any further doubts in the comment section and in the description box, we have been pasting the links. So you'll find the links in the description box and you can just go to the site and just visit and read about the course more, right? So with this, let us jump and study about the paper 1, that is the general paper on teaching and research aptitude. Now, why do we have to give this paper? This paper is very important. First of all, I have been telling you the importance of paper 1, how easy it is. How easy it becomes for you to crack the paper when you are good at paper 1. That is your teaching and research aptitude. If you score more marks in this paper, then it becomes very easy for you to crack the exam as well. The main objective is to assess you on the basis of your skills, your aptitudes related to your teaching and research capabilities. Also, they're trying to assess the aptitude level of the overall personality of the person as well. The candidates are expected to possess and exhibit qualities like cognitive abilities, in which they will look at the comprehension skills, they will look at the analytical skills, they will look at the evaluation part, understanding and how you understand the arguments, how you structure the arguments. So in our course, we will be dealing with all of these things in greater detail. I will first of all be explaining you all the units. Then I will tell you which are the units that I will be taking. Also, in our course, we will be not only studying those units in greater detail, we'll be doing the PYQs, we'll be solving the PYQs in the class, we'll be dealing with the practice questions. Also, we'll be giving you notes related to the topics that we'll be studying in the class. The candidates are also expected to have general awareness. It is also very important about teaching and the learning process in the higher education. Further, they should be aware of the interaction between the people, environment, and the natural resources. And of course, this is how the quality of life is made understood to every child. So to crack paper 1, you need to be extremely good in all of these 10 units that we have. So these are the 10 units. We have teaching aptitude, research aptitude, reading comprehension, we have communication, reasoning and mathematical aptitude, we have logical reasoning, We have DI, that is data interpretation. We have ICT, information and communication technology. We have people development and environment. Last but not the least, we have higher education. So in my classes, I'll be dealing with 3 units. We'll be doing teaching aptitude, we'll be dealing with communication, and then we'll be dealing with people development and environment, a very important unit. In fact, this time we saw that a lot of questions were asked from these 3 units that we have. So these 3 units are very important. Of course, your DI becomes very important because definitely they are going to ask questions from it. Earlier, we saw that 5 questions were asked from each unit, but now the weightage of each unit is also changing. There is no fixed criteria that 5 questions would be asked from each and every unit. Right? Earlier, we had 5 questions from teaching aptitude, 5 from research, so on and so forth. But now they are changing the pattern. They are asking more and more comprehensive questions, detailed analytical questions. Your reading comprehension becomes important here, and your data interpretation becomes very important. 2 things that I'm advising you from the very beginning: start solving 1 DI daily and 1 comprehension daily. These things would be sorted. In my class, it is my responsibility to give you good notes, crisp slides, and of course, we'll be dealing with teaching aptitude, and you will fall in love with all the theories. We'll be studying all the theories properly. We'll be dealing with the different characteristics of teaching and different characteristics of learner, and we'll be doing different domains, and we'll be studying about so many different things about teaching aptitude. So we'll be dealing with teaching aptitude, we'll be dealing with communication, and we'll be dealing with people development and environment. Also, this time we'll be reading few current affairs as well, because these are also very important. They do ask current happening. 1 current affair, 1 or 2 current happening is definitely asked in the paper from these 2 units. So you have to be very updated when it comes to your higher education and your people development and environment. So in my class, I will try to give you more and more facts and more current affairs as well. The slides would be structured in this manner only. Also, the data that I will be providing you would be the current data. So the things would be sorted for you. You don't have to run from one place to another to consolidate the material. And this is the most important thing, I would say. People, all of us know what is the syllabus. We know that these are the 10 units. We know how to study, but from where to study, that's the main problem that we all have. We have plethora of options. We have so many options, so much information on internet that it makes us confused. It makes us even more baffled that how do we structure the process of studying. So in my class, I'll give you proper structured slides. This will become, all the things would be become, will be very clear to you, and you will be easily focusing on all the important details in the class as well. Also, gradually, when you are studying with me, you will realize that you are learning the things in the class only. So this becomes important. You don't have to give a lot of time to paper 1. But I would say if you give 1 hour to paper 1 and 2 hours to paper 2, then you can easily crack the exam in the first go. So without wasting any more time, let us discuss these 3 units that I will be dealing in our course. So first of all, teaching aptitude. This is our unit 1. And in this, we'll be starting with, first of all, dealing with the very concept of teaching. The very core concept of teaching. What is teaching? Teaching is the delivering of the facts, knowledge, figures from a more knowledgeable one to a less knowledgeable one. The things and the different concepts and words, terminologies would be clear gradually when we'll be studying about objectives, principles relating to the teaching process only. We'll also deal with the very concept of aptitude. I'll tell you different philosophies related to teaching aptitude. We'll study about naturalism. We'll study about realism, pragmatism. All of these are very important. Then, very important, we'll be dealing with the levels of teaching as well. And who are the one who founded these levels? So we have memory level, understanding, and reflective level. Who are the ones who talked about it? What are the core steps inside these three levels would be clear to you. Then we'll discuss about the characteristics and the basic requirement of teaching. If someone says that teaching is a bipolar process, my students would say that no, teaching is a quadripolar process. This is what we will be dealing in the class. How teaching is a ever-going process. How is it ever pervasive? It is present at every level. It is a continuous process. All of these things would be clear in the class only. Then we'll study about the learners. Now, learner is a very important component in any studying process. Can you study without a learner? Can a teacher teach without a learner? Definitely not. So, imparting the knowledge is only one process, but grasping is very important by the learner. So, we need to be aware, a teacher needs to be aware about the inclusivity of every child, also the learner characteristics. Which child to focus more on, which child to focus less. These are the things that the teacher needs to know. IQ is one thing, but this aptitude of teaching is the process that the teacher can gain. This is what we need to understand. So in my class, you will be understanding how you can understand the process of teaching. How is it important that you make eye contact with a child? How is it important that you start the class with an anecdote or an icebreaker so that you grasp the attention of a learner? We'll be studying about the different characteristics of a learner. Now, all learners are not same. Some are adolescent, some are adults, some are toddlers. So, one theory that I follow with my adolescent learners cannot be used in the adult learners because maybe they are following a heuristic approach. What is heuristic approach? They are learning on their own. They are experimenting on their own. I will not be a dominant teacher here. I will be a facilitator. I will be at the reflective stage. All of these things will become clear. You will understand the characteristics of an adolescent learner as well as the difference between an adolescent learner and an adult learner. How adolescence is a stage of storm and stress. How this is a stage where you are homophilic in nature, how you are getting departed, how you are getting separated from your parents and you're relying more on your friends. And at an adult stage, what Armstrong also proposed, with heuristic learning, you would be able to grasp the concepts better. So these are the few things. We can differentiate between them on the basis of academic work, on the basis of social structure, emotion, and cognitive capabilities. So the three domains become very important. Not only cognitive domain, but your psychomotor domain and your affective domain are very important. So your cognitive domain, your affective domain, and your psychomotor domain. With acronyms, we'll be studying in the class. CAP. So CAP is an acronym that I gave my students to understand, right? And to remember that we have three domains. These three domains are cognitive, affective, and your psychomotor domain. Now, in these domains also, there are different levels, and you need to understand, and you need to remember, and you need to, these things should be on your fingertips. That what are the other steps that are there under the cognitive domain? Who talked about cognitive domain? These fall under the domain of Bloom's taxonomy. So we'll be clear with Bloom's taxonomy. We'll also be focusing on the individual differences between the students that are present in the class. Some are what? Some are field dependent. Some are field independent. One question that is repeatedly asked in the examination. What is the difference between these types of learners? Some are too much dependent on the teacher. Some are dependent on themselves. Something that they can find their own course of structure. Then we'll be dealing with the different theories related to teaching aptitude. One thing that I'm pretty sure all my students love, and in fact, I love teaching these things as well. We'll be studying about Maslow's need of hierarchy. We'll be studying about Piaget. We'll be studying about Freud, about Lev Zavorsky, about Brunner. These are the theorists, these are the famous personalities who have given different theories related to the teaching concept or the learning concept. How a learner can learn. What is the difference between a pedagogic stage, andragogic stage, and heutagogic stage? How, with little efforts, you will see that a child will move from one cognitive stage to another. This is what Freud said. This is what other theorists have also worked upon. Jean Piaget had given the cognitive stages of development. According to him, none of us can become, or can know everything by one go. With each stage, we will be learning the things properly. At each stage, something new would happen. We'll also learn about Erikson, a very important theorist. He's so famous, and he has given the theory of crisis. So he said that yes, Freud has talked about the different theories, but according to me, at each stage there are crises between the minds of a child or a person, and with that crisis comes the outcome. So you have love, you have wisdom, you have care, you have you have knowledge, and gradually the child would understand. So these stages and crises become very important. We'll be studying about Lev Zavorsky, of how he said that scaffolding is so important. In fact, the whole teaching process is scaffolding. What is scaffolding? You are learning with a MKO. What is MKO? I'm pretty sure if anyone who has already taken my course or studied with me in the previous course would know and would have all these things on his or her fingertips. What is MKO? More knowledgeable other. What is scaffolding? You are studying with the more knowledgeable other. Gradually, you will be at the zone of proximal development. The zone of proximal development, Lev Zavorsky has given it. The zone of proximal development will say that yes, at this stage I am learning. So you cannot be in a stage that is out of your control, or maybe it is too much in your control. You need to be in the middle. You need to be at this stage where things are very much in your hand. You can learn the things with MKO. This is the process of scaffolding. Another PYQ, right? They have been asking about scaffolding. Also, Jean Piaget talked about assimilation, accommodation. In your 2020-2021, as well as in 2022, we saw so many questions from these theorists. So we'll be dealing with all of these theorists. We'll be studying about Brunner, about the social skills as well, and other things would also be dealt in the theory part. Then we'll be dealing with the factors affecting teaching. Now, teaching can be affected by a lot of factors. A teacher, a learner, support material that from which you are studying, instructional facilities, and learning environment. Also, institution plays a very important role. Now, there are different factors. Depending variable and independent variables are always there in a teaching process. I will make things clear, and in greater detail, we'll be studying the characteristics of a good teacher. Another very important question of UGC NET. What are the characteristics of a good teacher? She should be proficient in whatever she is teaching. She should have good relationship with the students. She should motivate the students. All of these things are related to the factors that affect the teaching and the learning process. The TL process becomes more effective when all the factors related to teaching are in greater control. So we'll be studying about the teacher in detail. We'll be studying about learner. We'll be studying about the support materials and the instructional facilities. Instructional facilities like a board, or instructional facilities like smart board, whiteboard, posters. These are what? These are instructional facilities that make my class more interesting, that make my class worth attending, that will make the teacher more effective in teaching and the learning process as well. So we'll be doing the instructional facilities. We'll be dealing with the different instructional facilities. It can be audio-visual, it can be only audio, or it can be visual in nature. So we'll be studying about them. Another very important thing, we'll be studying about the methods of your teaching as well. What are the methods of teaching? My method of teaching can be teacher dependent or it can be the learner dependent. Teacher dependent methods are the methods in which the teacher has the control. She has the power. While on the learner centered method, learner has the power. So we'll be dealing with those aspects as well. So the methods of teaching, that is the teacher centered versus the learner centered. Then we'll be dealing with offline and online methods. We'll be dealing in greater detail with Swayam, Swayam Prabha and the MOOC courses. One thing that you can just take it in written, that questions will be asked from this domain, from this topic. They do ask questions related to the different Swayam. They have gone so much deeper that now they're asking questions related to your Drupal, right? So these are the small things that I am pretty sure will be clear to you after you have undertaken or studied the course with me. You'll be very clear with the difference between the different MOOCs that we have. What is the difference between MOOC? What is MOOC kit? What is Joomla? What is Drupal? The things would be clear. You'll be clear with what is Swayam, what are the different channels under Swayam Prabha. So these things are important and we'll be dealing with all of these things in my class related to teaching aptitude. We'll be dealing with the traditional modern methods and very important, we'll be dealing with the ICT based methods also. How information communication technology is used in my class. How now we are moving towards a very different approach of teaching where technology plays a very important role. Last but not the least, we'll be dealing with the evaluation system. Questions are asked from the different types of evaluation. That is your evaluation that is done at the beginning or in the middle or at the end. So it is your diagnostic evaluation, formative evaluation, maybe a placement evaluation, and at the end we see the summative evaluation. We'll be dealing about the criteria and the norm reference evaluation as well. In greater detail, we'll also be studying the choice-based credit system from which they used to ask questions, but now I think in the past examination they did not. But we'll be dealing with this. We'll also be dealing with the computer-based testing and the different innovations that we have in the evaluation system. So earlier, comprehensive methods like rubrics were followed, but now we are using what? We are using computer-based testing. So we'll be dealing with these things as well. So we'll be studying we'll be studying gradually the different levels of teaching, and I'll be giving you so many different pictures because I believe you remember things more when it is associated with pictures or it is associated with some color, and it becomes easy and interesting as well. So in our class, we'll be dealing with things like this. We'll be studying about the different methods and different models of teaching. Very important. We'll study about the historical teaching models that is given by Socrates, and we'll also be studying about the psychological teaching models, and we'll be dealing with the modern teaching models. Questions are asked, a lot of questions are asked from this domain. We'll be dealing with the information processing, personal teaching models, social interaction model, and we'll be dealing with the behavioral model. So Hilda Taba, Brunner, and Piaget, all of these theorists become important. Then we'll be dealing, as I told you, we'll study about Maslow's need of hierarchy. We'll study how you can reach to the point of self-actualization. Who was Harold Bloom? Who was Maslow? You need to know all of these things, and in greater detail we'll be studying. Then we'll be studying about Jean Piaget, how he has given that there are different stages. We'll be dealing with the sensory, motor, pre-operational, concrete, and formal operational. How a child can learn things. How with each stage you see that the child is gaining so much perspective, and at the end he understands the thing and he'll understand how to rationally take the decisions. Then we'll be dealing with different theories. As I told you, one part that is very interesting. We'll be dealing with the cognitive theories. We'll be dealing with constructivist philosophies. What is constructivist? How the teacher is a facilitator and helping the child to construct the knowledge on their own. We'll be dealing with cognitivist. What is cognitivist? These are different dots. with each dot, one day you will gather the complete knowledge about a particular topic. We'll be dealing with cognitive theories, how we know that there is a short-term memory, how there is a long-term memory. We'll be studying about the cognitive load theory. Questions are asked from this topic as well. What is a long-term memory? What is a short-term memory? We'll be dealing with Lev Zabosky's theory of constructivist. We'll be dealing with cognitivists, in which we have Jean Piaget and so many different theorists, Erikson as well. Then we have a very important part. We have the behaviorism. This theory will, it will be dealing with two very important theorists. We'll be dealing with Watson, Skinner, and we'll be dealing with classical conditioning and operant conditioning. So what is classical conditioning? We'll deal with the example of the dog as well. Then we'll be dealing with the concepts of remuneration and reward or punishment that are talked by B.F. Skinner. So these things become very important. What do you mean by stimulus? What do you mean by unconditioned response? What is operant conditioning? What is classical conditioning? Who are the founders of these theories are also important. So these are the things that we'll be dealing. This map, consolidates every theory that we'll be dealing. So we have the social learning theory and we have the different theorists. I hope you are clear. This picture is clear. If not, we'll be dealing it in the class. So not to worry. What I'm trying to do is just to show that how we study in my class. Then we'll be dealing with behaviorism, in which Ivan Pavlov has given the classical conditioning theory and Skinner has talked about the operant conditioning. Then we see how the behavior of a child is molded. We'll study about cognitivism, short-term, long-term, or the sensory motor memory. Then we'll be studying about constructivism. We'll be studying about Lev Zabosky, Brunner, Piaget. Social learning is important. We'll be studying about through the theorists like Brunner, how we can gather the information, it is important that we learn from the society. What is the role of imitation? These are the things that we'll be dealing. Then last but not the least, the technological part is very important, and we'll be studying how the learning environment is changing. Then comes the communication part. So communication, according to me, is the most scoring unit, and you will love doing this topic with me as well. Why? Because we will be in the easiest manner, we'll be dealing with the meaning of communication. We'll be dealing with the different types of communication, different characteristics of communication. We'll also be dealing with the affective communication and what are the different types of communication. Is it verbal? Is it non-verbal? How do we deal with the intercultural communication? What is group communication? What is the difference between group communication and mass communication? Mass communication, they ask a lot of questions from mass media on society and mass communication. Theories of mass media are also asked. In fact, models of communication. So we have 3 models of communication. That is also asked in the exam. And we'll be dealing in greater detail what are the 3 types, and under those 3 types, what are the different models of communication. Very important, they ask questions from classroom communication. From here, you see that they are asking interdisciplinary questions related to your teaching aptitude and communication. So these 2 units are clubbed together, and we see that how effective communication can be done in the classroom. Last but not the least, barriers are very important. And in barriers, psychological and semantic barriers are the most important. You cannot forget. And in the description box, you are going to tell me what is halo effect. Let me start with one question. This is a psychological barrier, or you can say this is a barrier, and you need to tell me what is halo effect. What is halo effect? This is a barrier, and we'll be dealing with such all of these different words in the class, and you will love the class, I'm pretty sure. So we'll be dealing with the very process of communication. This is the most easiest thing we have been studying, and this is the noise, the ever pervasive element that is always present. We have sender, we have receiver, the message is sent, encoding is done, and then the message is received, decoding is done, that is understanding, then the receiver will grasp and feedback will be there. So just as evaluation is the most important part in the process of teaching, feedback is the most important thing when it comes to the communication process. Without feedback, we call it as a linear communication, which is not a good communication. This is a interactive communication. And what is transactional communication? When you get answers repeatedly. And answers repeatedly are received where? It is received in your classroom communication, where the teacher and the learner are right in front of each other and they are talking. So if they ask you, what is the model that is followed in classroom? It is the transactional model of communication. So we'll be dealing with different models. Your Berlow's SMCR model being the most important. We'll also start with Aristotle's model. So we'll be starting from the very ancient models and we'll be coming with the most important Berlow's model. We'll also study about the Dance Helicon model. I'm pretty sure no one has told you about this, but these are the different models. This is a helical structure. We'll be studying how the communication is created, how you are interacting with the different person. These are the three models that we'll be dealing. The linear model, the interactive and the transactional model. These are the different types of communication. We have horizontal, vertical, diagonal. We have informal, formal. Non-verbal communication is the most important type of communication. What is non-verbal communication? Where words are not used. But you will be surprised that 70% of our communication is the non-verbal communication, and it has utmost importance. What is haptics? What is proxemics? What is olfactics? Would be extremely clear and would be as lucid as possible in my class. We'll talk about the body gestures, kinesthetics, and we'll be dealing with these different types of non-verbal communication. So we'll be dealing about proxemics. We'll be dealing what is haptics, right? You should know what is chronomics, the study of space, the study of touch, the study of time is chronomics. We'll be doing all of these things. Then comes a very important unit. Now, this important unit is called as people, development and environment. In this unit, we will first of all deal with the basic concepts related to environment, related to different developmental opportunities, and what are the different categories in which we can see the environment being divided in. What is the biotic component? What is the abiotic component? What is biome? What is ecosystem? What is atmosphere? What are the different layers of atmosphere? These are the basic concepts, and we'll be starting with these basic concepts. So first of all, these concepts would be dealt in initial 3-4 classes. I'll be dealing with these different concepts. What is biome? What is ecosystem? What is the different components? What are the different components? What is food chain? What is food web? What is bioaccumulation, biomagnification, right? What is acidification, nitrogen cycle, water cycle? All of these things are your different concepts that should be clear. What is a tundra region? What are the different regions that we have? What are the different ecosystem? What are the different forests? What are the different layers of atmosphere? Are the questions that we'll be dealing in the few parts or the few initial classes. Then we'll be jumping to a very important thing, that is the Millennium Development and the Sustainable Development Goals. We'll not be stopping at the goals. We'll be dealing with the other indicators as well. They are the targets as well, because they are also asked. So we'll be dealing with the goals, the targets, the indicators in the class only, and I assure you, you will learn the things in the class. In a story format, we'll first discuss and then you will learn it. Then we'll be studying about human and environment interaction. We'll be studying about the different anthropogenic, that means the human activities and their impact on environment. Here we'll study that how different protocols are coming, how different activities need to be subsided so that the climatical condition of our world can be protected. We'll be dealing with different environmental issues on the local, regional and the global level. Very important, we'll be dealing with air pollution, water pollution, we'll be dealing with soil, noise pollution and waste. This is a part that they are targeting a lot on. So initially they used to target a lot on water and air pollution, diseases related to them, protocols related to them, but now e-waste management is their favorite topic. And we have uploaded a lot of videos on YouTube as well, and you will understand the different waste management systems, how water is treated, how waste are treated. These are the things that they ask in the paper. What are the different types of waste? How do you dispose? What is the difference between incineration? What is compost pits? These things would be clear. Then we'll be studying about the climate change and its impacts also on the political dimensions related to it. We'll be studying about the different pollutants and their impact on the health. That means we'll be studying about the different diseases. So human health is impacted by the different pollutions that we have. Then we'll be dealing with the different resources, the natural resources, and you can say the natural resources that are there. Also, we'll be discussing about the different components that are created by these resources. So we have the natural resources and energy that we'll be studying. We'll be studying about solar energy, wind energy, soil, hydropower, geothermal, biomass. We'll be studying in greater detail about ethanol, right? What are the different types of fuels? What is BS4? What is BS6? Which type of petrol we are using? So which natural resources should not be used further because they are deteriorating. These are the things that we'll be dealing. Also, I'll give you the correct data because questions are asked how energy is created from these resources. So renewable resources, non-renewable resources. We'll be studying the whole topic in these two categories. Then we'll be studying about the natural hazards and the disasters. How do you prevent the disaster? We'll be studying about the Disaster Management Act in greater detail. At different levels, we have those acts and how mitigation strategies are important. Then, last but not the least, we'll study about the different protocols, agreements, amendments. There is one YouTube video related to all the protocols. You can look at that video. The things would be clear. How do we process in the class? So in greater detail, we'll be dealing with the different protocols like the Rio Summit. We'll be dealing with the Montreal Protocol, your CBD, Convention on Biodiversity, Kyoto Protocol, Paris Agreement, International Solar Alliance. So, we start with somewhat around in 1968 and we'll be doing the current happenings as well. We'll be dealing with the Solar Alliance. We'll be dealing with the fuel that we are using. So we'll be dealing with Bharat Standard, the fuel that we are using. Are we using BS4? Are we using BS6? What type of vehicles are important when we change the fuels? We'll be studying about the ethanol blending. The ethanol blending, very important. And this time also questions were asked from this. We'll be studying about the EV, the vehicles, the electronic vehicles. How we are switching towards these flex fuel vehicles, FFV. How we see that now we want what? We want that the carbon emissions are reduced, the carbon footprints are reduced. Not only this, we'll be dealing with all the different COPs that are held from the last one, that from where we started till the very latest one. All of these COPs we'll be dealing. What are the different agreements related to this? Which COP is important? Where it was held? The things should be clear. And we'll be dealing with all of these things. We'll be dealing with the different schemes that are coming up to protect the environment. Right? So all of these things would be clear. So as I was telling you, we'll study about the different types of pollution. We'll be studying about the major COPs. We'll be studying about the different conference of parties that started in your UNFCCC under it in 1992, and we'll be then gradually seeing that how the major outcomes were there of different COPs. So this is how we'll be moving, and we'll be coming till the very end, the COP27 that was seen in Egypt. So we'll be dealing with all of these things. We'll also be seeing that how our NDCs are changing. The NDCs under the Paris Agreement that was given in 2015 but now we have revised it. Now we want what? We want that the global emissions should be reduced. We want that we are producing more and more resources and that are in a better manner, and we're not deteriorating the resources that can be depleted. All of these things should be clear. The INDCs would be discussed. We'll discuss about Paris Agreement, Kyoto Protocol, Montreal Protocol. We'll study about the different different time zones of Kyoto Protocol, right? So the minutest of the things would be discussed in the class, and the things would be clear. So the different agreements, these are the things that are important. We'll study about what? We'll study about the POPs. What is POPs? It is the persistent organic pollutants. How we need to reduce the usage of these POPs. How CFCs are so bad. How HFCs are even bad, right? What are the different schemes? What are the different amendments? What are the different agreements that we have made to protect the environment? So we started in 1992 and gradually we are moving and we'll be dealing with all of these agreements, and the current happenings would also be incorporated in the class. So if there is anything new that is related to the environment, I will be telling you. I'll be giving you those notes in the class, and also we'll be studying it in greater detail, and I'll be making YouTube videos for that, so the things would be clear. Lastly, we'll be dealing with the PYQs. After all of the units, we'll be dealing with PYQ, or we can also deal with the PYQs gradually by one unit. When one unit is completed, we can deal with the PYQ. So these are my strategies that I follow in my class, and I am sure that you will like it. The course will become 10 times more easy when you study in a very structured manner. And I assure you that at the end of the time period, you will actually fall in love with these 3 units, and all of these things would be at your fingertips. So just a reminder that our classes are starting, the course is starting from 10th of July. 10th of July. And we have what? We have courses for paper 1, that is also starting on 10th July, and for paper 2, English literature and political science. So you'll find the links in the description box, and I'm sure that you are going to join it. So thank you so much for being a patient listener. Hope to see you soon. Thank you.